Поредното ни издание на Out Originals, нашата поредица, в която ви запознаваме с интересни, креативни, страхотни хора. Днес ще си поговорим с един супер интересен гост за поредицата, а именно DJ Bunny, който е DJ, който организира куиър, техно, партитата Harder в България, в Румъния, в Швейцария и в много различни държави. В момента го чакаме да се включи и ще си поговорим за клубната култура, за музиката, която той пуска, малко повече за партитата и как да си организираме едно сейф новогодишно парти от вкъщи. В момента чакаме Бъни да се включи. Междувременно можете да оставите, може да коментирате през цялото време, да задавате въпроси, да ни кажете как се чувствате днес, да изпращате сърчица. Надявам се, че сте добре в този пред новогодишен момент. Така, здравейте. Междувременно, докато чакаме, вие може да кажете какви са вашите планове. Здравейте, включват се и някои от нашите контрибютори. Например, Христо Димов, който последния материал за OutBG беше ревю на албума на Мила Робърт, който може да прочетете. И много се радваме за все по-големия интерес към лайв поредицата. Те са една от най-готината части за нас с екипа на Out. И ако имате идеи за лайвове, които искате да видите, ние сме на среща да ги случим. И в момента чакаме DJ Bunny да се включи всеки момент, за да започнем интервюто на английски. Hello!
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. So I already gave you a brief intro in Bulgarian, but now we're going to do it in English so you can also understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I can speak but not Romanian, but Bulgarian is on the list, so it would have been a very difficult or interesting conversation.
Yeah, maybe, you just need a few more parties in Sofia and you'll pick it up.
Well, in 2 years' time, let's speak again and then we'll do it in Bulgarian.
Absolutely. So we're so pleased to have you. This is DJ Bunny, also known as Patrick. He's the founder and the organizer of Harder, which is a series of queer techno parties around Romania, Bulgaria, and some other European countries. And you actually had a show in Bulgaria a while ago, and you were scheduled to have another one, but the pandemic that stopped everyone's lives happened. But we're really excited for your next adventures in Bulgaria. To start it off, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you started Harder?
Okay, yeah. So I'm Patrick. I'm half Dutch and half German, and I used to live for the first 21 years in the Netherlands. And I met my husband in my last year of living in the Netherlands, and he's from London and had already told me when we met that he wanted to move to Berlin. And well, I'm half German and I know a lot of German cities, or I knew at the time, and they're really boring, to be honest. So when he said that he wants to move to Berlin, where I had never been to before, I was like, oh, are you crazy? Why would I move to Germany? It's not fun. But obviously after the first visit, within the first 10 minutes of getting off Warschauer Straße, S-Bahn, I was already very excited and sold. So yeah, 6 weeks later, we moved to Berlin and lived there for 5.5 years before we moved to Bucharest 3 years ago. And Harder is really my creation because the first 2.5 years of living in Berlin, I wasn't really remotely interested in clubbing. And that is because the area I'm from, the southern part of the Netherlands, the people who live there, well, I was not just only a gay guy, but I'm also a very different person. The children there, well, we had not many things in common. So I thought that clubbing was just for people from that kind of community or background. And I didn't recognize myself in it. But obviously, having lived in Berlin for 2.5 years and knowing that it is the techno mecca of the world, you get curious. So after 2.5 years, I'm really happy that I actually made the first choice and went. And obviously, after the first time you go, you're kind of hooked because you realize, like, wow, this is possible. So yeah, and actually, already the idea to create my own party happened on my second time ever going out, which we went actually first to a gay pop club, and then afterwards in the morning when it shut, we went to Berghain. It was the first time we got in. The first time I went in there, we got refused. I can see in hindsight why. Like, the clothing we were wearing wasn't really very appropriate, like a really red jacket, and it totally makes sense. I would have also bounced myself. But I had a really interesting conversation with a girl, a French girl. They have this kind of swing bed on the right-hand side with chains. And the girl was telling me she was visiting from France. And really, to be able to come to a party like this, she had to travel to Berlin. And I thought, oh, wow, that's crazy. I live in Berlin, didn't even cherish this until now, and have this on my doorstep, and so many people have to travel. And I think already at that moment, I had a thought like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to create something like this somewhere where it doesn't exist? And that was just a thought for a long time. And I met through the 4 years of partying afterwards in Berlin, 3 to 4 years, lots of organizers of queer parties in Berlin. And well, you learn a lot. You pick up the things you really like. You know exactly what kind of music you want to promote. And I was really ready to create my own party by the end. And my husband, after 5.5 years in Berlin, was really over living in Berlin. Like, it's for me still, for both of us, still the best place in the world. But it is also quite intense, and if you like a party, it is difficult to tame yourself, and there's always a good reason to go out. Every weekend there's another party happening, or a friend in town, or one of your best friends who you haven't been able to party with for a while. So plus I really wanted to create my own baby, and we knew actually two guys from Romania who we met a few times clubbing in Bucharest, in Berlin. And I knew that there wasn't really a big techno scene, well, not a techno scene at all in Romania, because in Romania, like 95% of the people listen to minimal. Well, that's quite the opposite of the music we play at Harder. And we came on a short holiday, and Paul immediately loved it. And after 2 hours of arriving here, Paul said, oh, I really want to move to Bucharest. So when he suggested that, him already wanting to move to the city and me seeing the potential of creating the party I've been thinking of already for a few years. I thought, okay, let's go for it. So yeah, that's kind of, I didn't know at that moment yet how I was going to do it. I knew my party was going to be in Bucharest. The reason also being why Bucharest, like the main obvious reason would have been to do it in Berlin, because living there with the music I love so much, it's not really that well spread in the queer scene. There's a few parties, but there's not a high density of it. But I really wanted to impact the lives of hundreds or thousands of people and bring the queer community somewhere where it doesn't yet exist, or didn't exist to that extent, because my life changed so much from it, and I wanted to give back to the community.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think it's really special. You know, it takes just one person to come up with a concept and show people that you are allowed to party a certain way, or to, you know, do certain things. And it's really amazing bringing that freedom and, you know, the energy of Berlin to Eastern Europe. So can you talk a little bit about something that really spoke out to me when I was reading about your parties, is that it's a really inclusive space, not just for gay men, but for all types of queer people. And I think that's really important, to be very upfront and to invite everyone to be at the party. So why is that important to you, and how did you create that energy?
Okay, well, the answer is really simple. Like in Berlin, you have a good mixture between the two of them. There's quite a lot of parties where like 95% or 80% of all the people are gay men, and then there's maybe out of 300 people, one woman. And then there's a party where there's a good mix, where it's, I don't know, 60 or 70% LGBTQ plus, and then the rest straight, sometimes it's 50-50. But the parties which are the most fun are definitely the parties which are completely mixed and open-minded. And one of the interesting things is the critique I sometimes get, especially actually in Eastern Europe, although I actually also heard it in Switzerland, where a gay guy then said, "Oh, what a shame, look at all the straights here." But I think we're kind of past the point now of us gays needing to be completely secluded. Like, we want to be part of a society. So obviously 20 years ago, it was completely different. And the spaces where we were completely secluded from everyone else were needed, because otherwise we wouldn't really be in a safe environment, and we couldn't express ourselves as freely as we can now. Like now at a queer party, even though there are plenty of straight people also, you have straight and you have straight. You have the really open-minded, tolerant straight, and then you have, well, I guess, the other category. And the people who come to at least the queer techno party are at least extremely open-minded. And the mixture of all the different genders, sexualities and races, that's what makes it fun. I don't really like when it's just 98% gay or 100% gay. It's kind of a toxic male energy. Obviously, I like also sex at a party, whatever, but that can also happen when there's just 50% of gays. So yeah.
That's amazing. And what has it been like having the parties in Romania and Bulgaria? What do you feel the energy of Eastern Europe is, and how are people responding to them?
Also a great question. Like in Romania, in the beginning it was more gay. It was 70% gay, and especially as the night advances, there's more gay stuff. And all the straight people who had come there were fun, which is and really open-minded, which is very different to the atmosphere of all the other different parties I've been to in Romania. Mm-hmm. There's actually a really amazing female queer collective, and their parties are good. But outside of Harder and their collective, when you go to parties, people are just partying in groups, and there's not really a familiar atmosphere, and people aren't really interacting with each other. Whereas at Harder in both Bucharest and in Sofia, people is one big family. You can come alone to the party, don't know anyone, and within 2 minutes, I beg you, maximum 5, you'll be speaking to someone because that's just how it naturally happens. And so I already had this really good first experience in Bucharest, and then I wanted to bring the party also to Sofia because we wanted to spend more time in Sofia. We had visited once for a weekend and really liked it. And then obviously I knew that it was really great in Bucharest, and I was really hoping and praying it would turn out the same in Sofia because, well, you have then the event, you put it online, and I used Facebook advertising, and we had nearly 1,000 responses. And then I was like, who's going to come? I went through the list of people, and well, there were a lot of straight people. I was like, what is it going to be? Will it be the fun straights, or will it be the other straights? So no, actually, the same again in Sofia. The crowd is really amazing. The people are really great fun, and I, over the years, by clubbing in Berlin, my clothing changed more and more. I used to go clubbing in a t-shirt and jeans, like any ordinary club, but through time it advanced, like then sport shorts and t-shirt, then t-shirt off. But what I really liked in Berlin, and you can also say that about scenes like in Melbourne or London or New York, people really play with clothes and gender band, and like the mixture of clothing from all the different ages, from the 70s until now, and people, men wearing both female clothes mixed with male clothes, whatever is just fun and crazy, and I really like that. And there's the one DJ in Berlin called Deep Neue, Braulio, and he always wears the most amazing skirts. And I commented so many times about his skirts to Paul, and I said, "Oh, I wish I could wear it." And then in that moment, I realized the craziness. Like, I can wear a skirt, so and that was the change. Like, there's nothing feminine about it at all. They're comfortable, cool, fun, and by doing something like this, you can also just express yourself in a complete different way. And obviously, at parties like this, you're in a safe space without having to worry that you're being judged. And at the beginning, I was still like, how is this going to be perceived in a place like Bulgaria or Romania,
right,
which still aren't the most open-minded countries? But until this day, then I think I've had already 12 parties in Bucharest and 5 in Sofia. I haven't even had a single weird look or anything with my clothes. It's as if it's the most normal thing in the world. So it just sums up perfectly that the word combination queer techno is an amazing filter for bringing really amazing people to a party.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I think there are definitely all of those fun, open-minded people in cities like Sofia and Bucharest, but they just need, the opportunity and the space to go and express that. And I think with Sofia, we're really, craving these more concepts, I would say, parties where it's not just about going out with the same people, but, putting on a cool outfit or a skirt, like you said, and the party becoming the whole experience, from what clothes you put on to who you meet there, and just having a unexpected night maybe, and not just, doing the same thing with your friends. So thank you for bringing that open energy to our town. I'm sure it's really appreciated by the community here. And the next question is, of course, how has the pandemic impacted your clubbing projects, and where do you think things are going in the new year?
Well, how has it impacted me? Business-wise, of course, it wasn't too great because too many parties have been cancelled, and there have been so many shifts. The pandemic really started to go crazy. I was on my way to the airport to Zurich on the Friday, but and parties were still allowed to happen, and they would have been legally fine. But it just felt wrong at that moment. So just on the way to the airport, speaking to the club owners, I don't feel comfortable going through with this. So cancelling, and then lots of changes in Switzerland, and then last minute cancelling in Sofia.
Yeah.
But for me, I just see this as an opportunity for all of us to grow and reset. I travel so much, and in the last 8 years, our lives have been so hectic, and I just try to see the benefit in it, in giving my body the rest it needs, and just being able to stay home longer than just 2 weeks at any given time. And I've really used this time at home to really focus on work, not just actually on harder. I had another time during the first lockdown to build another business, but now during the second lockdown, we've been mainly working on new projects for harder, which I'm really excited about. And if I wouldn't have this time with the lockdown, I'm not quite sure how I would have fitted it all in. The thing is, it is as it is, and you can choose to be upset about it or not. So, and then I just prefer to choose to stay and accept it and try to see the benefits in it. And actually, yeah, it hasn't really impacted me negatively at all. At the same time, through the lockdown, we actually private parties in Romania were still allowed with up to 50, sometimes 20 people, and then they increased to 50 in summer. So we actually rented with the closest people who came really regularly to Harder in Romania. We went to the mountains 3 times, and that core of people got even closer. And that would have never happened without, never say never, but it would have been less likely for us to go to the mountains 3 months in a row and have a really lovely weekend there. So yeah, every negative has a positive side effect. And yeah, the first bit, which I can already mention, which we're working on and which will probably be launched at the beginning or mid of February, is our own record label called Harder Tracks, the 3 X's. A record label focusing on really diversity. Straight white male are the biggest amount of producers around. So with this record label, we really want to show true diversity and see that there's more possibilities besides just straight males. And talking now about mental health, I actually came to realize, like, when you organize a party like this, you actually have lots of exposure, and we're now going to work together with a mental health corporation and see how we can help the community improve their mental health and their well-being, so that they also just feel as happily as possible outside of the clubbing, because it's something really important to me, and I'm aware that not everyone, or the vast majority of people, wouldn't have given the same answer like me now, that the lockdown hasn't impacted their mental health too massively. But I would really love to help people to be able to reach to that point later on by working together.
That's really amazing. Congratulations on both fronts. Those sound like really impactful and amazing projects, and we can't wait to share more news about the record label once it's up and running. And to finish things off, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Do you have any advice for people who are doing their own small parties at home? How do they create that party atmosphere?
How do they create that party atmosphere?
Fresh enough.
Well, I guess bring your craziest, most loving friends, and sticking to the rules of your local government, and make the most out of this intimate session, and just hope that next year at this time we'll be able to spend the time together again in clubs. So.
And maybe wear a skirt, you know.
And maybe wear a skirt. Maybe call your grandmother tonight and say, "Grandmother, maybe can I have your pearl necklace or your skirt or something? I need it for a party tomorrow."
That's amazing. If you're watching this now and you're going to wear a skirt tomorrow for New Year's, please upload a photo and send it to us, and we'd love to see it.
Yeah, but I'll definitely be wearing on tomorrow. Ever since that night, I decided, I can wear skirts every single time clubbing. Well, not every, but like 90% of the times, I've been wearing a skirt.
That's really cool. I have a skirt at home, but I never had the courage to wear it to an event. But now you've actually inspired me.
Do it. Come to Harder. When you come to Harder, I definitely require you to see you in the skirt.
I will.
Or be 9.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was really wonderful hearing about you and the parties, and we can't wait for the next edition of Harder in Bulgaria. Hopefully we can do it soon. And I wish you an amazing New Year's Eve tomorrow and an amazing 2021.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited about growing the Harder community in Bulgaria. So far, it's been really nice. And the location we have at Fabrica is really the perfect spot to have this grow massively over the next few years.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.